Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we're looking at a company that's been, well, let's just say it's been on a bit of a wild ride lately, Newegg Commerce. And the big question, the one everyone seems to be asking is Newegg Commerce a good time to buy right now? Before we get into it, just a reminder, if you like what we do here and want us to look into a specific company next time, please hit subscribe, give us a like, and definitely drop the company name in the comments below. We really do build these analyses based on your requests.
Yeah, and it's crucial we frame this one correctly. Newegg Commerce, talk about volatility. We're seeing this interesting mix right now, some big operational changes, definitely some positive financial momentum recently, but also huge interest from retail traders. So what we'll do is unpack the past performance, look at what catalysts are coming up soon, and really dig into the risks, especially around its current valuation.
Yeah.
Is the potential reward worth that risk for you? That's the goal today.
Okay, let's start with that turnaround story because, yeah, looking back at the full year 2024, the numbers weren't exactly pretty. Revenue dropped, what was it, like 17.5%?
Yeah, 17.46% precisely. It fell from $1.5 billion in 2023 down to $1.24 billion in 2024. So yeah, on the surface, that looks bad.
It really does. Looks like a business struggling to keep customers.
Right, but here's where you got to look a bit deeper than just the top line. What was really interesting was how they managed that period. Even with that big revenue drop, their net loss actually improved. Quite a bit, actually, by over 26%.
Okay, wait. Revenue down significantly, but losses shrinking. How does that work? What were they doing?
They were seriously tightening the screws on costs. It looks like a real strategic shift. Our sources suggest they got really smart about logistics, consolidating warehouses, that kind of thing. And they also completely revamped their marketing spend, much more focused on digital channels with better ROI.
Ah, okay. So less about just cutting staff randomly, more about structural fixes to improve margins.
Exactly. It seems like they were building a foundation for better efficiency,
Right.
even if sales weren't booming at that exact moment. And that really set the stage for what we saw in the first half of this year, 2025.
And those H1 2025 numbers, they really show that strategy is starting to pay off, right?
Yeah.
Net sales jump back up 12.6% year over year, hitting almost $696 million.
Yep, $695.7 million. And even better, gross profit climbed faster, up 26.5%. That shows the margin improvement wasn't a fluke.
And the average order value, the AOV.
That rose too, up to $467,
Yeah.
which is pretty healthy. It suggests the customers sticking around are the ones spending more likely those core enthusiasts they cater to.
And the bottom line improvement is the most dramatic part, isn't it? The net loss narrowing so much.
It really is.
Yeah.
They went from a $25 million loss in the first half of 2024 down to just a $4.2 million loss in H1 2025. Well, it's almost break even for the half. Huge momentum shift.
Okay, so things are definitely looking up trend-wise.
Definitely trending positive. But, and this is important for you listening, the company isn't profitable yet on a trailing 12-month basis. TTM revenue is around $1.31 billion, but the TTM net loss is still sitting there at about $22.5 million.
So the story is good cost control, better margins, shrinking losses, but they still need to actually get into the black consistently.
Precisely. Profitability is that final, really critical hurdle they absolutely have to clear. Momentum is great, but you need profits eventually.
Okay, so the financials show improvement, a clear strategy towards efficiency, but efficiency alone isn't enough long-term, right? How are they defending that niche? How are they building a moat to stop customers just, clicking over to Amazon or Best Buy?
That's the next key piece.
Yeah.
It's all about their strategic plays, really doubling down on that enthusiast segment. They're trying to build a community, not just be a store.
Right, moving beyond just selling boxes, becoming more of a tech hub.
Exactly, an ecosystem.
And we saw some concrete moves there, like the Newegg Gamer Zone they launched in California back in August, that physical arena thing.
Yeah, the $200,000 gaming space at their HQ, pitched as a hub for workshops, tournaments, community building.
Okay, but $200, for a billion-dollar company, is that really a game changer operationally, or is it more about the PR, the image?
I think it's largely the latter. It's a physical symbol, right?
Yeah.
Shows they're serious about the gaming community. It anchors their credibility. And they paired it with a digital move, too, launching the Newegg gamer community platform online in September.
Ah, connecting gamers globally, trying to build loyalty that way.
Exactly. Fostering participation, making it sticky. It's that kind of engagement that's harder for the big generic retailers to copy effectively. They're betting on that deep connection.
Makes sense. And they're also looking beyond just gamers, right? Trying to diversify a bit.
Yes, absolutely crucial, especially into the B2B space, the business-to-business market. That helps smooth out the ups and downs of consumer spending.
And the big move there was the partnership with Credit Key in October, offering businesses payment flexibility.
Right. Flexible terms, 0% introductory financing. That's a clear signal they want more corporate clients. And they also expanded their ABS line, their pre-built PCs, into high-performance workstations. Again, targeting that professional business market.
So that B2B push helps de-risk things a bit, less reliance on just holiday sales spikes.
Potentially, yeah. If they could successfully grab a decent slice of the business market for specialized tech, it makes their revenue much less cyclical, much more stable year-round. That's a big deal for investors.
And on the consumer side, they're still tweaking loyalty things, like the store credit card benefit.
Yeah, adding a 4% everyday savings on their card. Small things, but they add up. Plus, they just had another big sale event, Fantastic Sale to Second, and they highlighted using AI tools to help shoppers.
Trying to make the shopping experience itself a differentiator.
Seems like it. Anything to keep users engaged on their site, leveraging their tech focus, it all feeds into building that specialized advantage. They know they can't beat Amazon on breadth, so they have to win on depth, expertise, and community.
Okay, so that's the strategy. Let's look ahead now. Because with a stock jumpy, the next few months feel critical. What are the immediate catalysts investors should be watching?
You said it. For a stock with this kind of beta, the short-term news flow is huge. It really is the whole ballgame right now. First up, November 8th, that's the Q3 2025 earnings release. Super important.
What are people looking for there specifically?
It's the first real look at how those recent initiatives, the B2B push, the community stuff, the early sales, are hitting the bottom line. Are those losses still narrowing? Is the margin improvement holding up? A beat or miss there could cause a big reaction.
Then right after that, we hit the big holiday season.
Exactly. November 29th, roughly, we'll start getting data on Black Friday and the overall holiday sales performance. For Newegg, still chasing profitability, showing continued double-digit sales growth through Q4 is basically non-negotiable. They have to deliver here to keep the turnaround story alive.
And given the stock's volatility, institutional moves matter more too, right?
Oh, absolutely. That beta of 4.23 means institutional buying or selling has an amplified impact. So keep an eye on the ETF rebalancing around December 13th. And then the big one is the major institutional holdings update, usually around January 15th. If big funds are increasing their positions, that can provide a real tailwind for the stock price, just due to the mechanics of how much they buy.
Okay, catalysts are clear. What about the softer stuff? The rumors, the market chatter that always seems to swirl around these kinds of stocks.
Yeah, there's always buzz. On the tech side, there's constant speculation they'll roll out more advanced AI shopping tools across the whole site. Not just for sales, but maybe for predictive support, trying to really personalize the experience.
Makes sense, playing to their tech strengths. Anything on the product front, beyond the workstation expansion?
There are persistent rumors about a potential new private label hardware brand, maybe focused on peripherals, keyboards, mice, headsets, where margins can be higher than just selling third-party components.
Capturing more of the value chain. That could definitely help profitability if they pull it off.
It absolutely could. And then there's the perennial M&A speculation.
The buyout rumors. Are those heating up again?
It's always simmering, really. The idea is that Newegg's strong brand and specific niche in the enthusiast market make it an attractive target for a larger e-commerce player or even a tech firm wanting quick entry into that lucrative space. It's unconfirmed, of course, just speculation.
Yeah.
But it does provide a sort of speculative floor under the stock sometimes. Keeps people interested.
Okay, let's switch gears to the technicals, because the numbers here really paint that volatility picture we've been talking about. As of October 18th, the price was around $47.22. But that 52-week range, wow, low of $3.32, high of $137.84. That's just massive.
It's incredibly wide. Confirms this isn't your steady dividend stock, it's a trader's playground, really. Looking at the moving averages reinforces this. The price, $47.22, is way above the 200-day moving average, which is down near $21.39.
So the long-term trend, technically speaking, is still pointing firmly up. Bullish.
Very much so. But interestingly, is currently below the shorter-term 50-day moving average, which is around $57.56.
Suggesting maybe some cooling off or consolidation in the near term.
Exactly. It looks like it's pausing, maybe digesting the recent run-up, possibly waiting for that Q3 earnings catalyst we mentioned. And the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is right around 50, smack in the middle. So technically, it's not overbought or oversold right now, just neutral heading into news.
Let's circle back to that beta number, 4.23. Can you just break down what that really means for someone thinking about investing here?
It means extreme sensitivity to market movements. If the S&P 500 moves up or down 1%, Newegg stock is statistically expected to move about 4.23% in the same direction. It magnifies everything. Good news can send it soaring, bad news can cause a sharp drop, demands a high tolerance for risk, and, frankly, active monitoring. You don't just buy this and forget about it.
Definitely not a set it and forget it stock.
No way.
Okay, technicals aside, what about insider confidence? Any signals there?
Actually, yes. A pretty significant one highlighted in the source material. Back on July 16th, a major insider, Vladimir Galkin, bought a substantial chunk of shares.
How substantial?
He acquired 222,222 shares. The total value was around $6.4 million at the time.
Wow, okay. That's serious money.
It is. And what's perhaps more significant is that this purchase pushed his total holdings to over 10% of the company's stock.
And why is crossing that 10% threshold important?
It triggers stricter SEC reporting requirements. It signals he's now a very significant, influential owner. It's a major vote of confidence when someone with that level of inside knowledge puts so much personal capital on the line and takes on that higher level of scrutiny. It suggests a strong belief in the future upside.
So putting it all together, the improving fundamentals, the high volatility, the insider buy, the analysis we looked at gave it a bullish rating of 8 out of 10. That feels pretty high given they aren't profitable yet and the beta is insane.
It is aggressive. And that 8 out of 10 is clearly weighting the momentum very heavily. They're looking at the positive trend in loss reduction, the strong technical picture with the price above the 200-day MA, and that powerful brand positioning in a growing niche. They're essentially betting that management nails the execution needed to reach profitability soon.
So boiling it down, what's the core risk versus the core reward here?
The risk is straightforward. Execution, they have to reach profitability. Failure to do so, especially in a cyclical market like consumer electronics, could be very painful for the stock price. And that high beta means any misstep gets magnified. Risk tolerance is non-negotiable here.
Okay, that's the risk, the reward.
The reward comes from that improving story. The fundamentals are getting better, the losses are shrinking, the balance sheet isn't overly leveraged, which gives them some breathing room, and you have that cluster of near-term catalysts, Q3 earnings, holiday sales, potential institutional buying, all lining up. If they execute well through this period, there are multiple clear pathways for potential share price appreciation.
So for you, the listener, it kind of presents two different angles, doesn't it?
I think so. On one hand, with the volatility and the upcoming news flow, it looks really interesting for shorter-term traders who thrive on those big swings around catalysts. But on the other hand, if you believe in the management team, the niche they occupy, and those efficiency gains, and if you can stomach the wild ride, there's also a case for it as a longer-term growth story in specialized e-commerce.
You just have to decide if that strong technical picture, the insider buying, is enough to outweigh the fact they still need to prove they can consistently make money.
It really is an execution bet at this point.
Which leads us to our final thought for you today. Considering Newegg's extreme volatility, that beta over 4, and how much hinges on nailing the upcoming holiday season to finally push into profitability. What level of certainty, what margin of safety do you personally need before investing in a company showing great momentum but still chasing that bottom line? Something to think about.